Before we get into the video, I just made an album of original music. It's kind of weird, it's a little bit folky, and I put my heart and soul into it. And you can listen to it right now on Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, you can go listen to it. I'd really appreciate it if you checked it out. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the video. Hello everyone, this is Daniel Profeta, back with a 5th installment of Let's Discover Why Jack Stauber Makes Me Laugh and Cry at the same time. Finding Stauber's music is like when they discovered a taste so unique that they made up a new word to describe it. We've got a bunch more of Jack Stauber's songs and videos, and we are going to be watching their careers with great interest. So welcome in, buckle up, get ready. It's been a while. Thank you for being here.
How tall are you?
I'm short.
Oh, yeah!
I'm tall.
Oh!
How tall are you? A strange little man asks with eyes bulging expectantly. Jack responds,
I'm short.
Oh, yeah!
Case closed.
I'm tall.
Oh!
Wait. What? Okay, but you just said that, and you could make up your mind. Then he is turned into liquid in a cup and is slurped down by some random dude for the duration of the video. While the unreliable narrator is being wishy-washy in his answers, we get to literally hear the man who asked getting audibly more and more confused as the track goes on. But that's not all that's happening in the background if you pay attention. You silly creatures who watch the Daniel Profeta channel like dorks. You will see that his height actually does not change at all. The people beside him go from being big to being small. Then it gets a bit wackier and he's measured against a tree and a dog, but his size always remains the same. It's all a matter of what he is being compared to, and that is what makes all of the difference. Somewhere in this 26-second video, there's a lesson about comparison being the thief of joy, or how contentment can be found through creating a measuring stick for yourself by which you are the one judging yourself. It's a hopeful thought that a bit of creative manipulation of the self could solve all my self-esteem problems. But then we are turned into a soda and drunk. We are literally a medium soda. And Jack, in this instance, is creating a commentary on how no matter what we compare to, at least drink sizes remain the same. Except, of course, in Great British, where sizes are smaller across the board. At the end of the day, regardless of if we are big or small, the mega rich slurp us down like soda. They're like giants towering above us. Also, I have a personal confession to make. There have been multiple videos in the past where I implied that I was pretty short. I'm pretty small. I'm actually 5'11". Short king, you're the same height as me. I know where you live, shorty.
I'm gonna come to your house and do things to you, small boy.
But the truth is, hold on. I'm 5'11 and a half. Hold on, guys. It's raining on me. That means in about 5 minutes, it'll start raining on you. I'm just warning you now. How's it feel to be small, huh? Maybe go compare yourself to an ant. Maybe then you'll feel tall.
Good morning, Blondie.
Sometimes I wake up at night and beside me is a demon. It has latched itself onto my side and it haunts my sleeping hours. Then when I awake, there is a girl who remains, still wrapped around my side and staring at me. Good Morning Blondie opens with the sun rising, but for some reason the clock reads 2? Is this AM or PM? Despite how strange this video gets as it goes on, I think that this part is the strangest little background detail, one that's even more disorienting when we open with the sun rising. In the video, Jack wakes up beside a woman and seems to try to be affectionate in his own way, only for her to keep changing into an entity of Coraline puppet eyes. Pretty unique video, as not many of Jack's stuff actually features another human being. The lady wakes up beside him and smiles warmly as Jack sings, "Good morning, Blondie, rise and shine. I'll make you a cup of coffee, but I'll pour more into mine." You'll notice that the woman is in fact not blonde. odd. He sits down across from her at the table as she continues to smile, and he starts trying to drink his coffee, seemingly to avoid eye contact, only to look over apprehensively and find that her mouth has become something strange, an aberration of clay and flesh, which Jack describes as moving like a puppet speaking words he can't understand. He takes a walnut, puts it between her teeth, possibly to make her stop talking, and then cracks her mouth down like there are sugar plum fairies watching like sadistic voyeurs. Her response is to sort of attack him, as the song calls her love the best Punch and Judy show on the whole East Coast. Quick history lesson. Punch and Judy is a traditional puppet show featuring Punch and his wife Judy, an archetypal and controversial British figure with his origins in a 16th century Italian puppet. Mr. Punch has been performing in the UK for over 350 years. The Italian puppet it was based on was a marionette or stringed puppet, but Punch and Judy are typically simpler hand puppets. The show mainly depicts slapstick violence, plus Elliott Smith has a song that references the characters and is the reason why I know what they are. Quick history lesson over. Jack is shown in a nightmarish position, his limbs twisted and knotted together into an extremely painful, sorry, I misread, more like extremely fatal, like he should be dead. Look at that and tell me he's coming back alive. Now they wake up in bed together again, and she wants to tell Jack about her dreams. And here's how he sees her doing that. Her blabbering mouth and staring static TV eyes. Some real women, am I right? Kind of humor. Then he makes her a new cup of coffee and says he'll pour it in her jaw in her big flesh drawer. Excuse me, what? The hell? I'm going to be exclusively calling people's mouths big flesh drawers from now on. This one is a weird one by Jack. It reminds me of how some people who talk about marriage or married life as the old ball and chain, or like they would do anything to get their partners to just shut up. A lot of people in the comments under the video seem to think that it's a sweet song and a sweet sentiment, but look at the title. She's not blonde. Why is he calling her that? In my opinion, Jack is playing a character who sees their lover as a monster, and then when he simply ignores her until he needs to use her mouth, in this case, for his own devices, he then paints himself as the victim when she gets angry with him. Really interesting psychoanalysis of this type of relationship. I'll make you a cup of coffee, but I'll make sure that I have more than you.
Playing into summer music, wall fell down, so I built a new one.
Something you'll see often in Jack's work is an intense interest in playful and clever wordplay. What kind of milk were you? What kind of life did you live through? And this multimedia event is called Tea Errors, which fits the song on its own, but also phonetically sounds like literal tea errors. Terrors. Dun dun dun. A second Jack Stauber music video featuring another human being has hit the towers. A yellow light illuminates a poised woman drinking from an elegant glass, and Jack opposite her, fidgeting and avoiding eye contact. And I've never felt so represented in my life. She bites her tongue, and it's probably supposed to be seductive, and then Jack does the same, just as sexily. There's an obvious juxtaposition between his nervousness and her calm, cool, and collected self. We see him running as instruments float around him in space, only for them to vanish as the girl is tossed into his arms. He looks up, confused, almost like he's been caught doing something wrong, as a godly hand reaches down from the heavens to chastise him. Bring her back by 9, young man. A row of flowers, with one being salted and wilting as soil is ruined. Then the woman is back at the table, but this time her head is in her hands and facing away from us. And then somehow we get a flashback sequence to the beginning of the video, 15 seconds prior. I think that's hilarious, but it also serves a purpose. To me, Tea Errors is a speculation on falling in love and looking past that initial honeymoon phase and seeing no real future with the person, trying to change for the person, but then a bit of your original unchanged self peeking through, and the sudden jarring realization that no matter how hard you tried to change for them, you really haven't changed at all. Of course, he communicates these ideas strangely. It wouldn't be Jack Stauber if he didn't. But the lyrics describe dumping nervous tendencies and thinking back to old habits after time has elapsed. There's a really funny part where he does a deeper voice and says, "Bring her back by 9, young man." But then later in the song, that deeper voice comes back and says, "Bring her back and hold her hand." A very different kind of pressure the second time around. This song is almost erotic, both in a way that's veiled and through the lens of sex anxiety, and then also through a broader lens of just general relationship anxiety. In the lyrics, he describes a shame cycle. Licking someone's sweet tooth is terror to me. Your soul is rotten, out of control, and I'm thinking, dreaming of a time when things were different, running into the same mistakes over and over as time ticks faster and faster, and he wonders if he chose the wrong person. But no, that's not exactly what it is it? Remember early in the video how he has instruments around him that get replaced by a girl? It's almost like a fear of losing yourself, your hobbies, your personality, your style in another person, trying to change for that person, the terror of being assimilated. And of course, the solution to this is just not to compromise. It can be easy to try to remake yourself in the image of those around you to fit in better, but it won't feel comfortable, and over time it will either A, kill your soul, or B, just not be sustainable. You won't be able to keep that type of act up. What you've got to do is build yourself into the person that you want to be, and then ironically, by not compromising on that, then you will find the best people for you, people who love you for you, which is something that took me way too long to learn. And before we continue, I can't remember if I already touched on this in a previous video, but T-errors is a really great place to make this next point. Jack Stauber's business model for marketing his music is really, really interesting. He'll make a short animation that's maybe 30 seconds long, then use that hype to promote a full 3-minute song on Spotify and Bandcamp. And he calls these longer versions the extended versions, which is a bit weird all by itself because T-errors was called T-errors when it was initially uploaded with the 30-second clip, but the actual lyrics with the words T-errors in them is only in the chorus. A chorus that does not appear except for in the full extended version of the song, obviously implying that it was never extended. The music videos are just short versions of songs that he already had completed. In a way, Jack has apparently predicted and outmaneuvered short-form social media platforms like TikTok and fried attention spans of most people in their 20s and below. Just like how many up-and-coming artists today are told to write a song and then create short-form social media content to promote the song, we find Jack doing the same thing circa 2013. Some crazy stuff he was doing with that degree in marketing. A man walks through his small town. What goes on in his head? What secrets does his heart contain? Behind those thin-rimmed glasses and the frankly dead-looking eyes, does he hold multitudes within himself? He sees a missing poster for a dog and mumbles to himself. Then he stands in the doorway of his house in the dark. We wonder why the lights are off. Why doesn't he turn them on? Then, like a flash of light, there is a flash of light. He owns bags of food. Terrifying. This man kidnaps dogs and returns them for reward money. We watch him shake a bunch of puppies out of his backpack, and I love how they are all like 2 frames just jittering back and forth with little smiles. He finds the dog on the poster and returns him to his rightful owner, who says, "It's a miracle her little Alan has returned." Alan. What a bad name for a dog. Now you might think that this video, affectionately titled Day Job, is all fun and games. Oh, look at the cute dog. Isn't the dog adorable? Haha, isn't the deadpan name funny? No! It's not funny. These dogs are in the trenches and he's getting rich. What happens when those dogs don't have reward money? What happens then? And that, my friends, is why, and this is what I think Jack Stauber's trying to say, you get a night job.
If I had a tiny mouth.
And now it's time for a visual representation of me trying to flirt. If I had a tiny mouth, I'd kiss every eyelash on your eye. Fortunately, I don't have a tiny mouth. I actually have a mouth cavity that is much larger than normal for a person of my size and shape and whatnot. Which is why I just eat eyeballs whole. I really love how well Jack can portray a kind of obsessive, nervous, butterflies in the stomach kind of love. He does it in a lot of his videos, and I think he nails it over and over, even in 10-second videos like this one. And as you know, Valentine's Day is not for the lonely. They get to have every other day.
Disciplinary, and it's all kind of scary.
I'm just gonna say it. Most people would not have the balls to say this, but I do. Keyman is one of, if not the most underrated Jack Stauber songs. I never really see people talk about it, and that's kind of sad to me, because I think it's a key, to how we get a lot of Jack's most uncompromising work, and I think the sentiment it expresses is one that a lot of artists struggle with. Jack stands holding a belt. What I want to know is, who is he spanking and why? He sings disciplinary, and it's all kind of scary. If I jingle my keys, don't call me Keyman, please. So, back in the day, jingle, jingle, jingle. The back rooms, jingle, jingle, jingle. Shaking keys at someone to grab and hold their attention in the easiest way possible. Finding the ability to appeal to the lowest common denominator and then going off of that in your art. But suddenly you find that that's all people know you for. Something stupid, vapid, or something that makes you cringe really hard looking back on just becomes the main thing people know about you. And that is a common fear for artists, which might sound counterintuitive because a lot of people who aren't artists think of an artist and they think, well, they want to be recognized for their work. But that it's just a lot of times a lot more convoluted than that. It's a reaction that's hard to understand, especially in a world where a lot of folks define success as making money or gaining notoriety, especially for a person creating art, which it's, you know, kind of hard to break through with, and is a lot of times a pretty thankless job for the vast majority of people who do it. Like, no matter how many hours you put into it, it's never really going to be a proportionate amount of livelihood coming back from that for the vast majority of people. And in reality, that desire for notoriety or fame or fortune is just, it's not true for everyone. There is a dedication to craft and an ideal and a form that can transcend any immediate desire for fame and fortune. A fear of being boxed in or stagnating or finding the hobby that you loved turned into something that brings you no joy at all. Like the guy who made Skibbity Toilet. And so the Keyman implores you, don't label him only for what it is that he does. Basically, if I jingle my keys at you one time, don't call me Keyman for the rest of my life. Thanks. When he says this the first time, his head turns into claymation with a wild expression, almost as if to say, don't force me to never try new things. Just because I do claymation doesn't mean it's all I ever will do. He goes on to sing, rewind, refine, you will find me inside. And then he lifts up his shirt to reveal Jack on an umbilical cord, as a baby, but with a normal head in his womb. Throw down your umbilical noose so I can climb right back. Wait, what? Nirvana? So if the first part of the song is a fear of being boxed in, the second verse is a fear of being misunderstood or misconstrued. He says, I wrote you a song and now you're singing it wrong. I gotta say, I don't think that's our fault, Jack. Have you heard the way that you sing? I'm pretty sure it took us years to get even close with the lyrics online, and we were greatly aided and abetted by you posting the lyrics onto the Patreon page. To be honest, most people understand these ideas underneath the video and repeat them in different ways throughout the comments. But there is a section in the full version of the extended song that tells a very different story. A piano suddenly starts playing. The whole vibe of the song changes, and Jack sings much more understandably than usual. Call me Keyman. I understand it much better than unlocking vanity. Call me Keyman. In fact, I demand it. Ooh ooh and ah ah sound sensible to me. And when I have cold hands, still call me Keyman. Not for how it were, but for how I beg to be. He then accepts, or the artist accepts, the wider effect that their art has, and they implore us to remember them for their work, even after they're gone and their hands are cold. For their work represented how they wanted to be seen, despite how ordinary the artists themselves are. And I don't know, I think that's sweet. I like the sentiment of the song a lot. It's a little sad. Everything about the song is sad, but I really like that one.
Just seeing you, I knew a bond between us two I grew.
Jack sits, holding a woman while staring, steadfast into the void. The world around them is dark and warm. All at once, his skull is pried open from the inside, and a little egg thing leaps out with frustratingly human limbs to sing us a little song. Isn't he cute? Maybe the song will be nice and normal. Just seeing you I knew, a bond between us two had grew, and love spilled out the open doors and smeared around the kitchen floor. Two hearts through all complexity contorted into harmony, and blood won't travel through those veins, but love will. Oh, love will. And the song abruptly ceases, and the weird little creature hops back into Jack's brain, and we are left in almost complete silence, except for muffled crying low in the background. It's kind of disturbing, this one. To me, he is trying to comfort her while she is crying, but has no idea how to actually articulate it. His mind is buzzing with obsession so wild that it turns into Lovecrafty and weird Junji Ito Uzumaki imagery, but he is apparently unable to voice it, or just knows that exactly what he's thinking wouldn't be appropriate in that moment. So they sit in almost complete silence, and only her tears break through. We are left with a lot of unanswered questions, which is typical for a Jack Stauber short. I wonder if the woman is like dying, or if she could even be dead already. That could explain the weird, disturbing imagery of the lyrics. Blood won't travel through these veins, but love will. Something I want to bring your attention to here is the texture effects Jack uses throughout his work. This video is perfect to analyze this element because the textures are really clear and not overly busy, so we can really focus in on them. In the foreground, we have these splashes of white distortion animated into the frame, and in the background, we see different shades of black and brown. We see faint lightning. We see a lot of imagery that paints a suggestion in our minds without really ever being more than a backdrop. It reminds me of David Lynch when he was asked in an interview about what his favorite textures to use in films are, and he said like dirt, flesh, oil, machinery, you know, and it's something that you can find in every video Jack's made if you look closely. It's a signature element that adds a lot of detail and fleshes out the world that his characters inhabit. Even though the videos might seem simple to someone who isn't familiar with making that style of video, I can tell you from experience of trying to emulate Jack Stauber's style in the second video of the series, that the stop motion elements and putting a bunch of different layers on top of each other is very, very, very involved. And it's I think that's the biggest, like when I've seen some people try to do Jack Stauber, and that is the thing that I most commonly see people miss, is they just make like one element that's moving around, as opposed to, he normally has at least three. He normally has some stuff on top of everything in the foreground, then the main video going on in between, and then a background with all different textures and flashing things, and it's really cool. Mirror, mirror. This one visually is one of the most impressive of Jack's shorter videos, and I think a big part of that is his attention to detail, especially at the very end. The video depicts a man watching a happier version of himself on the television, along with experiences that he wishes he could be having. But at the end, the song cuts out, and the whole world fades as the TV floods with water, leaving us in this oceanic darkness. Little paper fish can be seen floating by, then the man's face appears, horribly distorted, awfully detailed as he thrashes about and screams. But what really gets you is the sound design, the sound of the deep sea floor overwhelming the man's scream. Forget no one hearing you scream in space. No one can hear you scream deep underwater. And then prepare your mind for the inevitable thalassophobia. Did you know I made a whole video on thalassophobia? You should check it out if you didn't. For some reason, people didn't really vibe with that one, but I think it's good and you should go watch it. We see so much on TV, and also obviously devices nowadays, that try and convince us what life is supposed to look like. Good job, fall in love, kids, house, friends, vacations, loving family, whatever. But reality isn't like that for most people. Plus, I don't know, it kind of turns hollow when an ideal is being sold to you, almost like propaganda. Falling in love or not, wanting things, having hopes and dreams, that should come naturally and in our time, not theirs. To me, Mirror Mirror is a spiritual predecessor to Easy to Breathe, where someone is vicariously living off the television and finding their own life wanting in comparison. The ending, as the TV floods, is the overwhelming weight of wanting those perfect friendships, those perfect families, that perfect body, the need for perfection that destabilizes and corrodes almost every element of our culture and our well-being, and then we drown in our expectations of ourselves and of each other. But at least the song is catchy. For real, it's a fantastic little ditty.
Mr. Backwards, look back at how he acts, he's a monster.
I've heard of having your head screwed on too tight, but this is just ridiculous. Mr. Backwards tells the tragic tale of a man described as a monster who tells you all the facts. Watch his movements as he listens to himself. He's hurting, but he's certain all is well. The song concludes with Jack saying, "Mr. Backwards, don't you know? You really want what you don't." And then the titular Mr. Backwards says something reversed, but with Daniel Profeta high-tech audio reversal machines, we were able to uncover what he was really saying.
Coffee in the morning, sleep at night. You look like a dream come true.
Huh. Interesting. I kind of empathize with Mr. Backwards. Mr. Backwards, do you mind if I just call you Ward? Okay, yeah. So Ward here is being called a monster and a crook, but by my calculations, he's just misunderstood. He, like most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, are filled with contradiction. What we want and what we don't want is not always going to be immediately evident, and our opinions and beliefs change and grow and as we learn and, you know, etc., etc. As Ward's body moves forward, his head constantly cranes back, desperate to regain a past that just doesn't exist anymore. Perhaps he regrets decisions that he's made, perhaps he finds a dull comfort in the poisonous nostalgia, and regardless of his motivations, he can't seem to see what is right in front of him. More importantly, he's definitely going to hit a wall at some point running like that, right? Ward's biggest problem is that he thinks he knows everything, so he only takes his own guidance. And when you look closer at his actions, you'll find his opinions suspect, subject to intense scrutiny. And just like Love Will, Mr. Backwards has pretty disturbing imagery. Quick rant for a second, but I was recently talking to someone my age who implied that Jack's work seems to be made for children, and they don't really understand why I would take the time to analyze nonsensical videos for kids. And I doubt many people on this video feel similarly with this person, but I still wanted to respond to that somehow because I've seen other people express similar sentiments. So buckle up, Sarah. Firstly, the implication is that because the videos are stop motion or animation, or just because you don't understand the music, that means that it was made with a child audience in mind. That's what you're trying to say. And then additionally, I think a lot of younger people got into these songs and videos a few years after they were released because these kinds of 20-second songs that sound like this with liminal and lo-fi imagery are very proto weirdcore aesthetic TikTok stuff, and they got absorbed into that subculture, which is really cool and helped lend Jack Stauber getting even more popular over the pandemic and in like 2020 and 2021. I think that's really cool. And none of that really matters all that much. Like, who cares how people came to find something as long as more people got to discover it? Just because it's an animation and has weird music doesn't automatically make it for children. In fact, I'd argue that this is a perception problem that a lot of people have. Is Perfect Blue for kids because it's animated? You know, is South Park or Rick and Morty or Watership Down? Is it impossible that adults make art that's not intentionally watered down for younger audiences through the medium of animation? I don't think so. I think that's totally possible. I think it happens all the time, and here are some examples of it. And when I see, especially when I see some of these videos that are really fucked up, I don't know. To say that they're just nonsense, that's just trying to be weird for the sake of being weird and is specifically catered towards an audience of like 5 to 10. I disagree very strongly. In my opinion, it's obvious that a lot of thought and intention goes into the creation of these pieces. And while obviously some of them are more lighthearted or whatever, I promise you something like Bumblebees Are Out or even Rain wasn't made with the intention of appeasing an audience of kindergarten-age kids. Just because it's not full of cursing or whatever doesn't mean that it's a show for babies. Anyways, rant over. Sorry. Thank you so much for being here, to everyone who's stuck around with the channel all this time. Because we're about to start doing a lot, and I'm really excited about it. I think the next few videos you guys are really gonna like, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. So thank you for being here. Your like patience is being rewarded because now I'm settled into the new space and I've got all these ideas, and I'm really proud of where we've made it to, and I'm really excited to see where we go next. When I made that initial Jack Stauber analysis like 2.5 years ago, it changed my life in a lot of ways. And this is like the 5th video in the series now, not counting separate videos for Opal and Shop a Pop Opera. So yeah, thanks for your interest and for listening to me ramble about stuff that I find interesting. Each like on this video equals 1 kidnapped dog being returned to their owner by me for a reward. One day Jack will upload again and my life will be complete. But until then, see you around. The Daniel Profeta channel is made possible by supporters over on Patreon and by viewers like you. Thank you so much. And I would also like to thank all of the patrons over on Patreon. Without you, this channel would not be possible. Huge thank you to Kira, AJ, Dark Beast, Bile, Coyote, Cuba, Bat Noise, Phoenix, Bees, Joy, Amelia, Boris, Panflute, Thomas, Audrey, Justin, Lou, Ray, ZK, Tom, Dave, Elkie, Stardrop, Nude, George, Joseph, Mr. Fox, Possum, Kyojin, Drarko, Geek, Lori, Bun Bun, April's, Kira's, and The Things. See you in the next video. Adios.